José Mourinho has reportedly delivered a shocking message to Federico Valverde and Valverde And Tchouaméni in his determination to bring Enzo Fernandez to Real Madrid. Both midfield stars are now being linked with possible exits. The decision is already causing chaos among fans and pundits alike. Let me break it down. Real Madrid have confirmed the appointment of José Mourinho for a second spell in charge, handing the veteran Portuguese tactician a 3-year contract. Having triumphed in the recent presidential elections, Florentino Perez wasted no time in delivering on his headline campaign promise to bring Mourinho back to the Spanish capital. And almost immediately, Mourinho got to work, not on tactics, not on preseason schedules. On the squad itself, Mourinho wants Real Madrid to sign up to 6 players this summer, as he plans a drastic overhaul to get Los Blancos challenging once again. But to bring players in at that scale, players have to go out, and that's where the bombshell lands. According to Ignacio Sanchez, Mourinho has told Madrid to get rid of the Uruguay international midfielder. That's Federico Valverde, one of the most celebrated players at the club over the last 5 years. Gone. But it doesn't stop there. On Tchouaméni is not considered an untouchable by Mourinho, in the same way as Jude Bellingham, as per Ramon Alvarez de Mon. And the reason Mourinho needs both of them moved on. Enzo Fernandez is Mourinho's #1 target. There's a sense that if Real want to spend big in the market this summer on top targets, sales will be needed to bolster their budget, particularly in midfield, should players like Enzo Fernandez from Chelsea be pursued. So Mourinho has effectively put a price on 2 men who were, until very recently, considered key figures at the Bernabeu. And the reason this hit differently, the reason this is a genuine bombshell, is what had been happening behind the scenes at the club long before Mourinho even arrived. Details from French publication RMC Sport, corroborated by The Athletic, claim that during a training session, Valverde put in a strong tackle on Tchouaméni. Real Madrid manager Álvaro Arbeloa attempted to defuse the situation by placing the two on the same team, but the verbal insults only continued. Then, in the dressing room after the match, things escalated to a physical altercation, where Valverde fell, hitting his head on a table, sustaining a laceration and losing consciousness. Real Madrid then imposed fines of €500 each on Valverde and Tchouaméni, following their explosive bust-up at the training ground. Valverde was subsequently diagnosed with a cranioencephalic trauma and ruled out of that weekend's Clásico against Barcelona. That's the backdrop Mourinho walked into. 2 midfielders who physically came to blows, one of them hospitalized, the dressing room fractured, and now a new manager who's already decided what that tells him about the future. He wants Enzo Fernandez, he wants a clean midfield, and Valverde and Tchouaméni are in his way. Sanchez has claimed Mourinho received bad reports about Valverde, who is playing for Uruguay, at the 2026 World Cup and wants Madrid to sell him. This is a club in full transition, and Mourinho hasn't even taken a formal training session yet. You don't fully understand why Mourinho was so willing to move on 2 established midfielders until you understand how badly that dressing room fractured in the months before he arrived. This wasn't just a squabble. This was the kind of incident that split a squad. The end of the 2025-26 campaign was a roller coaster for Real Madrid, as the club endured the likelihood of a second straight season without a major trophy. Ahead of the season's final El Clásico matchup against Barcelona, Madrid were in a difficult position knowing they had to win, or have their bitter rivals celebrate confirmation of the La Liga title on their pitch. Things had boiled over at Valdebebas as the season wound to a close. It started in training. The altercation broke out during a Thursday session, just a day after the 2 midfielders had been involved in another incident. During Wednesday's session 2 days in a row. That's not a one-off flash of temper. That's something that had been building. A source told ESPN that the fight broke out at the end of training following a practice match with some heavy challenges. Tchouaméni went to the changing room, and Valverde then entered, looking very tense. That's where they got into a fight. In the dressing room during the flashpoint, Valverde fell, hitting his head on a table, sustaining a laceration and losing consciousness. Losing consciousness in the dressing room. Days before El Clásico, multiple reports claim Valverde was sent to hospital to receive stitches for his injuries. Head coach Álvaro Arbeloa accompanied him. Now, Valverde, being the consummate professional he's always been in public, tried to downplay it. he released a statement denying any fistfight, claiming he had accidentally hit a table, causing a small cut on his forehead that required a routine visit to the hospital. But you don't get diagnosed with cranioencephalic trauma from accidentally bumping a table. The club's own medical verdict told a different story. The fallout was immediate. Real Madrid's players held a crisis meeting, with the club later confirming an investigation led by President Florentino Perez was underway. The players had been involved in a physical confrontation at the end of training on Wednesday, with tempers understood to have flared again in training on Thursday, with Valverde ending up in hospital. It was announced that disciplinary proceedings had been opened against the two players, following a crisis meeting held by Florentino Perez. The financial punishment for both was confirmed, but neither player was handed a suspension, meaning Tchouaméni could be available for the Clásico. Madrid had already confirmed Valverde would be out of action for between 10 days and 2 weeks. Both men fined €500,000 each, one of them hospitalized with a head injury. The Portuguese coach is aware of, and keen to avoid, the many dressing room problems Madrid faced this season, with clashes between players and coaching staff, a confrontation between Tchouaméni and Valverde, and issues with both Vinicius Jr. and Mbappe. Mourinho didn't inherit a squad, he inherited a war zone. And when a new manager looks at two players who took that kind of situation to its absolute limit, and then asks himself who gets a fresh start and who doesn't, the answer shapes everything that comes next. The account Mourinho reportedly received described an insolent attitude toward the coach and a very poor teammate during the previous season, to the point that a high percentage of the squad doesn't want him to be part of the team upon returning to training. The last incident with Tchouaméni was extremely unpleasant, and the blame was entirely his. That's the intelligence Mourinho was working with, and that intelligence drove a decision. To understand why Mourinho would sanction selling a two-time Champions League winner and a cornerstone of France's midfield, you have to understand what Mourinho actually came back to do. This isn't a maintenance job. This is a rebuild. Mourinho wants Real Madrid to sign up to 6 players this summer as he plans a drastic overhaul. In a remarkable twist, he agreed to return to Real Madrid 13 years after first leaving the club. The Special One agreed an initial 2-year contract with Madrid that includes the option for an extra 12 months. Reports indicate the Special One wants a minimum of 4 new faces at the Bernabeu ahead of next season. Atop his wish list are 2 midfielders, 1 center-back, and 1 fullback, all described as vital reinforcements to get Real Madrid back to where they belong. But here's what makes Mourinho's approach different from what Madrid have been doing in recent windows. He isn't just chasing names. Mourinho has informed the club hierarchy that he is not chasing high-profile signings for the sake of their reputation. Instead, he is demanding players who are hungry for success and willing to sacrifice for the team. His assessment of the last 2 seasons concluded that the squad suffered from a lack of commitment and a collective mentality issues he intends to fix by signing players with strong character. Mourinho wants a dressing room filled with warriors rather than egos, seeking out individuals who are eager to run and compete for every result. By prioritizing these traits, he hopes to eradicate the perceived softness that led to the sacking of Xabi Alonso and the eventual departure of interim head coach Álvaro Arbeloa. Think about that for a second. 2 managers gone inside 1 season. The club endured the likelihood of a second straight season without a major trophy. That's the reality Mourinho is stepping into, and his solution isn't patience, it's surgery. Mourinho believes it is vital Madrid enter the market for 2 specific midfielders. He is eyeing a defensive midfielder and a playmaker with a creative profile. And right at the top of that creative profile list, Enzo Fernandez? The 25-year-old was one of the cornerstone names in Florentino Perez's presidential election campaign, with the Real Madrid president making no secret of his desire to bring the World Cup winner to the Bernabeu. Perez's pledge was backed by Mourinho, who agreed that Fernandez possessed the profile and quality required to become a key figure in the club's next generation. That alignment between president and manager is crucial. This isn't just a manager's whim, it's institutional direction. Perez campaigned on landing Fernandez. Mourinho agreed he was the man. So now every decision about who leaves is being filtered through the question: does moving this player get us closer to Enzo Fernandez? Mourinho has already spent the last several weeks carrying out an in-depth assessment of the squad's internal dynamics, including reviewing key match footage and gathering intelligence on dressing room events. He plans to use the upcoming preseason to evaluate the players in person before making final decisions on departures. The intelligence gathering on Valverde's behavior, the reports of an insolent attitude of teammates not wanting him back, that fits exactly into this framework. Mourinho doesn't want egos. He doesn't want fault lines. He wants a reset. And a player who put a teammate in hospital, regardless of who threw the first punch, is a fault line that doesn't fit the culture he's trying to build. So who exactly is this man that Mourinho is willing to dismantle his midfield to get? And why now? Why is this the summer it happens? Fernandez lifted the 2022 World Cup and the 2024 Copa America with Argentina. At club level, his trophy cabinet includes the 2024-25 Conference League and the 2025 FIFA Club World Cup with Chelsea. He arrived in England as a World Cup winner with the world at his feet, and he's only got better. Chelsea paid a British record £105 million to sign Fernandez from Benfica. In January 2023, and after scoring 15 goals in all competitions last season, the Blues are reticent to let him go. But here's what's shifted. The player himself is pushing for the door. Fernandez has informed Chelsea he is prepared to leave this summer, due to growing uncertainty around his future at Stamford Bridge. His relationship with Chelsea became strained after his high-profile suspension, and he has withdrawn from discussions over a new contract. Chelsea had hoped he would commit his long-term future to the club, but according to sources close to the situation, that is no longer a possibility. The public hints have been there for a while. When asked if he would be at Chelsea next season, Fernandez said in March, "I don't know. There are 8 games left and then the FA Cup. Then there's the World Cup. And then we'll see." He also said he didn't understand why Enzo Maresca was sacked. Before insisting he fancies living in Madrid, that's about as clear a hint as a footballer can give without holding up a Real Madrid shirt. Chelsea midfielder Enzo Fernandez is keen to join Marc Cucurella at Real Madrid this summer, according to transfer journalist Ben Jacobs. Both Cucurella and Fernandez had been flirting with potential moves to Real Madrid in recent months with comments during international breaks. Fernandez's agent has revealed that discussions over a lucrative contract extension recently collapsed. His representatives stated they plan to revisit negotiations after the 2026 World Cup, but if appropriate terms are not met, they will be forced to explore other options. That's the agent giving Chelsea a deadline. Post-World Cup, sort it out or we're gone. Real Madrid president Florentino Perez and incoming manager Mourinho hope Fernandez can be attracted to Madrid. And given everything the player has said and done, that attraction appears to be very much mutual. According to Team Talk, Real Madrid is preparing a player plus cash offer for Chelsea midfielder Enzo Fernandez. Chelsea reportedly wants $138 million for Fernandez, and Real Madrid is exploring the inclusion of a player in the deal. There is interest in West London in Valverde And Tchouaméni and Eduardo Camavinga, so the structure of this deal is already beginning to take shape. Madrid don't want to spend that kind of cash outright. They don't have to, because they have players Chelsea want, Tchouaméni being the most prominent name of the two. Real Madrid are prepared to offer Chelsea a like-for-like deal, as they look to sign Fernandez in exchange for Tchouaméni, a straight swap. Fernandez for Tchouaméni, no cash. If Real Madrid are willing to match Chelsea's asking price for Fernandez, he would become the most expensive player in the club's history by a significant margin. That is why the swap structure matters so much. It lets Madrid land their #1 target without breaking the bank on fees they'd otherwise have to fund through pure sales. Now we arrive at the part that genuinely complicates this whole story. Because while Mourinho's plan is bold and internally consistent, clear out the chaos, bring in Fernandez, reset the culture, the execution has layers that don't resolve neatly. Start with Tchouaméni. The early reports suggested Mourinho viewed him as expendable. Spanish journalist Ramon Alvarez de Mon claims both Bellingham and Valverde are essential in Mourinho's plans for Real moving forward. Conversely, Tchouaméni is not a player he has put at the top of his list. But then a newer wave of reports flipped that. According to Ignacio Sanchez, Mourinho has told Madrid to get rid of the Uruguay international midfielder, that's Valverde, suggesting the blame for the training ground fallout has landed predominantly on the Uruguayan's doorstep. So we have two different journalists with two different accounts of who the primary casualty is. Real Madrid are open to making a big sale in the center of the field with the acquisition of Fernandez in mind. The big-name exit will be either Camavinga or Tchouaméni. That framing keeps Valverde in place, which aligns with the Demon account, and sets up Tchouaméni as the one being traded toward Chelsea in a swap. Both have been linked with moves to the Premier League and Manchester United specifically, but reports suggest the Red Devils are more interested in Tchouaméni to partner Kobbie Mainoo in midfield. Tchouaméni has historically been seen as a more crucial cog for Madrid than Camavinga, but it remains to be seen how Mourinho will view the pair and which of them he will make available for transfer. So here's the reality. Both Tchouaméni and Valverde are in genuine danger. One of them is likely to be used as the mechanism to land Fernandez. The other may follow separately. Midfielders Dani Ceballos and Eduardo Camavinga have already been put up for sale, while Franco Mastantuono is available for loan. The midfield is being stripped back dramatically, and Chelsea, they're watching all of this play out with a mixture of leverage and anxiety. Chelsea have so far stood firm on Fernandez's future, despite the player's desire to move. The Blues remain huge admirers of the midfielder, who has developed into one of the most influential figures in their squad since arriving from Benfica. While Chelsea are aware of Fernandez's wishes, sources indicate they have no intention of sanctioning a transfer that sees them make a loss on one of their prized assets. The Argentine arrived at Stamford Bridge for a then British record £107 million from Benfica in January 2023. Due to the long-term nature of his contract, his amortized value remains high on the balance sheet, making any cut-price departure a financial impossibility for the West London club. So Chelsea's position is this: we'll sell, but only at our number, and that number is enormous. Chelsea have reportedly set their asking price for Enzo Fernandez at €138 million, amid significant transfer interest from Real Madrid. Real Madrid have reached a shock verbal agreement to sign the Chelsea star for £52 million. After the World Cup, according to transfer expert Fabrizio Romano, if that figure is accurate, it suggests a significant chunk of that fee would be made up in players, with Tchouaméni being the obvious candidate to bridge that gap. Real Madrid are described as being on high alert, as the club is said to be seeking to acquire a high-profile midfield signing this summer, with the £100 million rated Argentine remaining one of their primary targets. Fernandez has also publicly expressed his admiration for the city of Madrid, stating he would welcome the opportunity to live in the Spanish capital. What's left now is the haggling. The World Cup is the backdrop to all of this. Fernandez is out there representing Argentina, Valverde is captaining Uruguay, and their futures at the Bernabeu are being debated in boardrooms and on back pages while they play the biggest tournament on earth. Fernandez has already said he'll see what happens after the World Cup. That's a man who knows exactly where he's going. He's just waiting for the details to be confirmed. Mourinho also faces a massive internal task regarding the club's current talisman. The return of the special one carries a layer of intrigue given his recent comments about Vinicius Junior, where he questioned his conduct following a controversial Champions League night at Benfica. Mourinho will need to find common ground with the Brazilian if his second spell is to be successful. Mourinho's rebuild isn't just about who comes in. It's about who gets the message that the old way, the egos, the fights, the chaos is done. Sources told ESPN that there is a climate of uncertainty and tension at Valdebebas as staff await developments this summer, with some fearing a clear-out and a high turnover of staff in various departments on Mourinho's return. A clear-out, that's the word doing the rounds at Valdebebas. And if Mourinho gets his way, if the Fernandez deal gets done, if Valverde is moved on, if Tchouaméni becomes the currency that funds it all, this will be one of the most dramatic midfield resets a club of Real Madrid's stature has ever attempted in a single window. The bombshell has already been dropped. Now the rubble just needs to settle. Mourinho tells Real Madrid to sell Valverde, Tchouaméni. Mourinho's view on Man United target explained. Enzo Fernandez to Real Madrid, decisions made by Xabi Alonso and José Mourinho. Enzo Fernandez transfer from Chelsea to Real Madrid, transfer feed. Man UT transfers. Real Madrid reach big sale decision. 5 Real Madrid players Chelsea could target in Enzo Fernandez swap deal. SI Real Madrid ready to offer Tchouaméni in exchange for Enzo Fernandez. Sportskita. The Real Madrid players most impacted by Mourinho's aggressive transfer strategy. SI Mourinho incredibly plots 6 moves to completely rebuild squad. 4 positions Mourinho will demand transfer upgrades at Real Madrid. Goal. Sources. Real Madrid plot major changes with Mourinho arrival. ESPN. Valverde versus Tchouaméni fight. What we know Yahoo Sports? Real Madrid's Valverde Tchouaméni fined $500K each after fight. ESPN. Real Madrid players hold crisis meeting after Valverde sent to hospital. Sky Sports. Valverde to miss Clásico with head injury after altercation with Tchouaméni. ESPN. Chelsea's asking price for Enzo Fernandez revealed amid Real Madrid interest. Chelsea's stance on Enzo Fernandez sale revealed. Goal. Real Madrid, £100 million plus Enzo Fernandez bid prepared, team talk. Chelsea asking price for Enzo Fernandez. Football transfers. Enzo Fernandez wants out, goal US. José Mourinho latest news, goal? Mourinho personally targets Manchester City star for Real Madrid transfer. OneFootball, https://onefootball.com's in-yen news. Jose Mourinho personally targets Manchester City star for Real Madrid transfer $43 million.